let's go back a little bit to when you got involved with the witnesses.
Mhm.
How did you become one? What was the influence?
I was around 12, 13 years old, and my family had just gone through a big move from Northern California to Southern California. And I was attending a tough school, a big, tough public school. And I was having a hard time, and my sister and my parents were going through business troubles. They were going through a divorce. The family was very fragmented. And my eldest sister, who 2 years my senior, and I began babysitting for a family in the neighborhood. And the parents of these children that we babysat were Jehovah's Witnesses, and they recruited us slowly. It was a bit of love bombing. We were kids who needed some belonging and some attention and love, and they were brand new Jehovah's Witnesses and really enthusiastic. And their family was warm and inviting, and it felt very different than our home. So I think that was really the attraction.
Right. Interesting that you mentioned love bombing because I think you probably know that, and for the viewers, I think that's one of the identifying marks of a cult or high control religion is to draw people in. That's that love bombing. And did the witnesses feel like a community for you when you got drawn in? I think or more like a set of rules that you had to navigate.
At first, it feels very much like a place where you belong and you're seen, heard, understood. So that sense of attunement that we were receiving was quite, I would say, it formed an attachment. And once that attachment was formed, then the rigidity and the authoritarianism, that is what came on board. But at first, initially, that's not what we were seeing. What we saw was warmth and belonging and people who really gave us attention that felt meaningful.
Right, right. Um, you know, that's something that always stands out for me is I always say that, there are good people in the witnesses, right? Not
Mhm.
everybody is a bad apple. They are good people. Up
Oh,
until this
yeah.
day, I know good people in there. And that sense of community, and as somebody who's left that organization quite a few years ago, you long for that type of community. When you are out, it's so ingrained in us as human beings that we need community around us. And for a
Absolutely.
lot of people that leave, trying to get that sense of community outside of that environment is so difficult. I'm sure you've come across that type of thing in your practice, in your therapy sessions.
Absolutely. Well, I was fortunate because I wasn't raised in the religion, and my mother especially was very adamantly opposed. And so by the time I went to, well, we'll get into that later, but I wasn't raised in it. So when I left it, even though I had to leave my community that I had been in for 5 years and was had no other community because
Right.
it's so insular and it's considered, um, it's frowned upon to have worldly friends or people outside of the religion. So it truly was my community, but I also had a family to fall back on that were not Jehovah's Witnesses. And that was very helpful for me. I think that was something not very many Jehovah's Witnesses get when they choose to leave on their own, of their own volition. And then they have no one at all. And I can imagine what kind of social torture that is, because it was social torture for me, and I did have a family.
Yeah, yeah. I can relate because I had my environment was similar. Um, I still had a family that were not Jehovah's Witnesses and were very close. I had a friendship circle at school as well that was very close knit. So as a teenager, I'm battling with the thought of these kids that I'm friends with at school or my family. I don't want to see these people destroyed because they're good people. That's how do I straddle these two worlds? And I can't reject these people. So as a teenager, I'm thinking my uncles, my aunts, my cousins, my friends at school, um, they're going to die at Armageddon. And
Which
that's the
it's just saying that out loud, unless you were a Jehovah's Witness, that concept seems so unbelievable that there's a group of people who truly believe that everyone outside of their religion will be violently murdered in a war.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's very foreign to a lot of people. I mean, I've spoken to many people, since I've left in my activism and all that. And they are, surprised at what the inner workings are and how Jehovah's Witnesses view everybody else, the outside world, and what's going to happen to them. So, yeah, they are very surprised.